Good morning. My name is Terrell Harris, one half of the leadership team of the Open Box, where our vision is to make wholeness more accessible. Today's message comes from Matthew chapter 13, verses 2 through 9, and it reads as follows. Such great crowds gathered around him that he got into a boat and sat. Listen, a sower went out to sow, and as he sowed, some seeds fell on the path, and the birds came and ate them up. Other seeds fell on rocky ground where they did not have much soil, and they sprung up quickly, since they had no depth of soil. But when the sun rose, they were scorched, and since they had no root, they withered away. Other seeds fell among the thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked them. Other seeds fell on good soil and brought forth rain. Some 100-fold, some 60, some 30. Let anyone with ears listen. Today's message is entitled, How to Grow or Be Fruitful. So what we see in this particular passage is that Jesus is speaking to a large crowd of people. Throughout Mark 12 and also some of 13, he's speaking to people, some who believe him, some who don't. So what he's telling the people in this passage is that as he's here in this present time on earth, that there's going to be some people that is going to fully hear what he has to say, and some people who kind of disregard it, and some people who may believe some of it, and then it may just wither away. Because as Jesus was speaking to large crowds during this time, he was having people who actually doubted who he was or doubted the things that he was saying. So what exactly does this passage mean for us? So what I want to point out is we may be in a point of our lives right now where something's not right. We may not be experiencing growth. We may be putting our energy into things, and we may be a little bit confused about where we're at. So I want to ask you, where exactly are you at in your life currently? Are you at a place where doors are closing and you're not understanding why? Are you having a lot of frustration? Are you going to church maybe and you're receiving a message and for some reason it's just not sticking or it's just not making sense? Or are you at a place to where there's disappointment and you're not sure why, or you're just kind of questioning God and not understanding why God has you at this particular place? If that is the case, maybe we're having trouble growing or having trouble moving forward because we need to do a soil check. So what Jesus says in this passage is that, again, some people will receive the message that he has, some people won't. What I want to argue is that with the fourth part, he said, if we look at that last soil check or that last point, Jesus is saying that if you have, or if somebody has good soil, or if we're rich as far as the soil goes, that we'll be able to multiply 60, 30, and some 100-fold. But we're actually having a tough time growing, not because we're rocky or not because we're hard ground. I think there's something on the topsoil that's blocking us from receiving what God has to say to us. So there's outside of where I live in a condo, and there is a patch of dirt and a patch of grass. So if you look at this particular image that I'm showing, you'll see that on one side you have green grass, and on the other side there's rocks and there's chunks of concrete, and that's because they did some work there. So in this same little area, it's probably not even 3 by 3 or 4 by 4. In the same little area, you have a patch of grass that can produce growth, and then you have a patch of grass that can't produce growth. Now, underneath, it's the same dirt, but what's on top is what's causing the problems and what's causing the lack of growth. So you see rocks, you see a chunk of stuff that is preventing the growth from happening. So in order to receive or to grow, what would actually happen to this dirt, or have to happen to this dirt, is some things have to be sifted out or removed. So for us, we have to understand, in order to hear and understand and receive what God has for us, we also have to sift some things out in our lives. God has a message for our life that we're unable to receive, so we have to remove some of this stuff out. So some of the stuff we have to get rid of. We have to get rid of hate. We have to get rid of unbelief. We have to get rid of fear. We have to get rid of lust. We have to sift out bad relationships. We have to sift out maybe drugs or alcohol. We have to sift out bad eating habits. We have to sift out anger. And we definitely have to sift out our ego, which prevents us from even believing some of the stuff God has for us. So when we begin to sift out some of the junk, what we're left with is rich soil where seeds can be planted and proper growth can begin to happen. So the thing about this, what you have to realize is if you want growth, you have to do the work yourself. So as you go to church and as you hear from your pastors and your ministers or anybody positive that's speaking a message into your life, what you have to realize is that they're just throwing the seeds out and being led by God to speak words. It is up to us ourselves to remove some of the dirt or some of the things that's preventing us from fully receiving this message or fully hearing from God and understanding what God has to place for our lives. So if you do the work, or if you help somebody, get somebody to help you do the work, you could receive an abundant life, and you could receive everything God has for you, and also you could understand where God has placed you in the current moment, and there will be no need to have fear or no need to have any stress or feel any stress as in relationship to where you're at. So if you want life abundantly and you want full understanding, take your sifter out and get rid of that those things that are blocking you, the hate, the anger, the sin, the lust, things that I've mentioned. Begin to sift some of that stuff out, and I'm guaranteeing that anything that God speaks into your life will begin to stick, and it will start to make sense, and you will begin to produce fruit. And once you produce fruit, and once you grow, others around you will be able to benefit from things that God has placed in your life. Peace and blessings. I hope this message helps. And let us end in a word of prayer. God, we thank you for the opportunity to come and hear a word from you. We ask that you help us to recognize the things that need to be sifted out of our lives. Help us to have the courage to get rid of that stuff. Help us to have the courage to, hear your word. And please, we're asking that you plant your word deep in our hearts so we can begin to grow, and that others can benefit from the growth that we also have in our lives. This we ask in your name. Amen. I'm out. Y'all have a good day.